Oh, it kind of sounded like church bells.
Yeah.
Well, good morning
Good morning.
and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too.
Welcome. Welcome to 2023. So there was a little boy who was doing so badly in the public schools, particularly in math class, that finally his parents moved him into a private school, the Catholic school. And they couldn't really put it together, like, how is, a Roman Catholic education really going to help this kid become a better mathematician when 1 equals 3 and 3 equals 1? But they noticed after the first month that suddenly he was getting all A's on all of his math quizzes, and they felt that the problem had been miraculously solved. And they thanked God for this. But when they asked the little boy, they said, "What is it about the Catholic school that has made you such a math whiz in such a short time?" He said, "Well, the first time I walked into the building, I saw that they had this guy nailed to a plus sign. And I knew I had to get it together or they'd put me up there too." All right. Welcome. Welcome to this place which we make holy by our presence. These doors are open to all. We welcome diverse ideas of the source of life, diverse needs, diverse abilities. In this place, the ordinary is sanctified. The human is celebrated. Compassion is strength. For here, you need not hide, nor pretend, nor be anything other than who you are and who you are called to be. Welcome to this place. Together, we make it a holy place. Before the chalice lighting, I've got a special announcement to make. About a month ago, we did an interactive service where we were invited to come up and think and share about whether we grew up going to church or not, and how that has kind of shaped the way that we interact with each other and the way that we approach the world today. For this morning's sermon, we're going to do an interactive sermon in which we will be invited to share on the topic of, did we grow up as, us, how many of us here grew up as an only child? Now, how many of us grew up with siblings? Yeah, that's right. No, you know what? Actually, wait. Is that so? Everybody here grew up with siblings. Is this correct? Good. Oh, did you grow up with siblings?
No.
Oh, you're an only child.
Yeah, because the parents that adopted me were actually old enough to be my grandparents.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Yeah. All right. So, okay. You see, look at this. It's like the room organized itself where the only children are there.
And you notice
That's right.
we gotta be the center of attention.
Yeah, that's right. They're running the machines and the piano. And then those of us who grew up with siblings, we're out here. So we will be invited to share on the topic of how has growing up either as an only child or growing up with sibling relationships kind of strengthened us and helped us to find our place in social situations like this congregation. So I invite you to start thinking about that a little bit now. And then in the middle of the service, we will be invited to share on that topic. And as kind of a special thing this Sunday, since we're going to be talking about growing up with siblings, I have brought a pair of siblings with me. I brought my two oldest, the oldest two of my four children. So we'll see. Maybe they'll share something on that topic. So please join me for the words of the chalice lighting. They are printed inside of the leaflet. May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our powers to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, Spirit of freedom. Please stand if you are able for hymn 361 and to rejoice and come in. Our responsive reading this morning will be number 664 in the back of the hymnal. Number 664. This is a poem called Give Us the Spirit of the Child by Sarah Moores Campbell. I'll read the sections in standard type. Please join me for the sections that are in italics. Give us the spirit of the child. Give us the child who lives within, the child who trusts, the child who imagines, the child who sings, the child who receives without reservation, the child who gives without judgment. Give us a child's eyes that we may receive the beauty and freshness this day like a sunrise. Give us a child's ears that we may hear the music of mythical times. Give us a child's heart that we may be filled with wonder and delight. Give us a child's faith that we may be cured of our cynicism. Give us the spirit of the child who is not afraid to need, who is not afraid to love. Peter, would you please lead us in honoring joys and concerns?
We have ritualistic practices in this church, even though we might deny it. We do have one. This is one of them. It's an important part of our life. When we share personal high and personal lows with the rest of the people here, and I guess with the people on the Zoom. No one is obligated to participate. No one is either expected or unexpected to. But we like to pause for a moment and give each of us a chance to privately meditate or contemplate if there's something we'd like to share with the rest of the people gathered here today. So I'm going to request that everyone pause for that moment of silence. And now I'm going to open the pulpit to anyone who would like to come up, speak clearly about a joy, a personal joy or a personal sorrow that you may have. And I'd like to encourage everyone else to listen carefully to what's being told to us. And if you choose to, you can light a candle, place it in the baptismal font. So is there anyone who has a joy or a sorrow to share with us this morning?
Hi, my name's Meg. Just wanted to share, I guess it's a sorrow, but I look at it as joyful too, that my mother's in a rehabilitative nursing home right now because she broken her ankle. So I just wish, send her prayers of peace and love and happiness and her continued ongoing recovery.
Hi, I'm Patty. So this morning, Marge found something on the Facebook page of the Niagara Area Foundation with this lovely picture of Betsy. And I can't read this whole thing because they plastered her picture on top of it. But it says, "Thank you to Betsy Diachin for 23 years of service to the Niagara Area Foundation. As one of the NAF's founding members, Betsy helped bring together community leaders and local philanthropists to strengthen Niagara County by addressing critical needs to improve lives. Since that time, she has served in many roles on the council, including chair in 2014, vice chair in 2019, and in 2021. Betsy has been instrumental in the growth of NAF, which today has more than $8 million in assets and has awarded over 1,600 grants totaling over $4.5 million to numerous organizations across the region. I can't read anymore because her picture's plastered on top of it, but we should congratulate Betsy.
Anyone else have a joy or a sorrow they'd like to share? If not, I'll light one last symbolic candle. For any unexpressed joys or sorrows. And I think the offertory is next, isn't it? Patty will play the offertory and we will collect the offering for the moment.
Well, it's been said that you can't choose your family. But, on the other hand, here we are. We are a small congregation in Niagara Falls. We each come from a different background. Some of us here are, one of a kind, the only child. Some of us here are part of the set. I know that I'm part of the set. I'm something that is or was a middle child. I don't know if you all heard about the middle child. That's the one who's always kind of scrambling to try to, meet those same expectations as the first child. And they've got to do it without all of the parental patience gets given to the youngest child. I get to be a middle child. I'm always trying to catch up. Let's go ahead and put in my share. And I always blame myself for everything. Some of us here are an eldest child, some of us have the middle child, the youngest child, and only child. We come here together as a congregation
And we fit together in certain ways, ways that are shaped by who we were in that family dynamic growing up. That can help us to relate to people in ways that we wouldn't even necessarily think of. We are shaped by relationships that are invisible to others.
Not on, because I was getting some feedback.
Better now? Try it again.
Check, 1, 2.
Yeah, without the mic, the out of towners don't hear you.
Got it. Okay, but it does sound better now. Our siblings or our lack of siblings shapes us and strengthens us, helps us to find our place in the world. Even the worst sibling relationship can challenge us to be stronger. Even a connection with a sibling who has crossed over into another realm, by which I mean who has become a Republican. We don't want to get like too dark about this. So I encourage you to think, and I invite you to come up and share for a moment, if you would, if you so choose. How has growing up with others made you a stronger, more relatable person? So please take a moment. Think about if there's something that you would like to share. Everyone or anyone is welcome. Yes, and then I hope that we'll have a volunteer.
I am also a middle child. And one in my sibling, my youngest, has crossed over and become a Republican. And so that has, thank you. And so being a middle child, you learn to accommodate everything, it seems to me. It seems that this is for me as a middle child. Pardon me. You become a fixer. That's what I have seen in my family. And you're always taking care of things. In my family, my sister she learned to cook. I did not learn to cook. And I know people who would attest to that. But I learned to clean, and I learned to take care of my younger brother and take care of things and relate to people with different ideas. And so here I am among people with different ideas.
I guess what I was going to say isn't really about my relationship with my brother. There are only 2 of us. But I do have a sibling story that I don't know how it fits exactly. And I don't know what the age order was in this family, but one of the participants, one of the brothers, was the president of the United States. And I'm speaking, of course, of Jimmy Carter. His brother, Billy, remember him? He made a nice comment about his brother one morning when when Jimmy Carter had taken over the presidency. And the reporter was pressing him as to what changes he'd made. He said, well, there's one important change I've noticed in my brother since he became the president. He drinks his beer out of a glass now instead of the can. Don't we all need more brothers like that?
I may say negative things, but I do love my brothers. For the record, I know you're all gonna hold what I say against me, but I do love my brothers. What I've learned from being an older sibling, which I am, hooray, yippee me, is that you have to have a lot of patience for a lot of smaller children because everything that they do really gets to you deep down inside. And sometimes I just have to tell myself, don't be the family member that they talk about in therapy. Don't be the family member that they talk about in therapy because that's the only thing keeping me going. But I do love my brothers. They're great. They're just also very loud. That's all. I just wish that like maybe I guess the wishes that they were older, although that's unrealistic. For them, they made it a lot farther than I did. For me, I was the kid that was 6 and still cannot talk and was still screaming and babbles. So that was great for a long time. Really, I was stunted. Connor was the older sibling in that situation. I obviously don't tell them I said that. I want to leave something for my deathbed because that'll be more interesting when I'm done. I'm like, I love you. And I'm like, that's crazy, man. But thank you. Yeah, so that's been my little brothers. Thank you everyone. I do love my kid. I do love my little brothers. Next up, Connor, do you want to say anything? Please.
Yeah, my little brothers are Republicans too. Um, they whine and cry about sharing all the time, and okay, and I'm the older middle, and I take pride in that overall title. But it does come with its drawbacks because that means that I'm always the one who ends up cleaning up people's messes. You could call me the peacekeeper, and I would not disagree. But you know, Jackson, the older one, is very, you know, charismatic, and you know, sometimes I kind of hate my siblings' guts and want to avoid them like the plague. And also sometimes I feel really scared that they're gonna get old someday and probably end up having to wheel me into a nursing home. So there's 2 different sides of the coin, and you know, just depends on the day.
Did anyone here have the experience of being the youngest child? Betsy, would you be willing to share a little bit about that? You want me to bring you up?
I don't care. I'm the youngest of many, though. There's 7 of us. And so the main thing I heard was I was never allowed to do that when I was her age. And I sort of did feel that my parents just sort of got tired of parenting after a while, and I got away with murder. But it's been fun being the youngest, but right now it's no more fun because we're all in our 80s and 90s and we're dying easily. I guess that's all.
Yes, please.
I am the oldest of 4. I have a brother who's 2 years younger than I am, and then a brother 10 years younger than I, and a sister 13 years younger than I. So it was kind of like having 2 families, for, you know, because we weren't all growing up together. I think that Wally gave me a special T-shirt, and I think that it kind of expresses how that affected my personality. It shows a little girl with a big stick and a little boy kind of cowering kind of away. And the little girl is saying, "I'm not bossy. I have leadership skills." And I like to think of it that way. That's how I like to think of it. I was kind of not with my younger brother, just 2 years younger, but certainly the other two, I helped raise them a lot in different ways. And I think it did really strengthen my leadership skills to the point where I'm still looking out for others, giving them good advice, as I think I've mentioned before, which is usually ignored, which is hard. It's heartbreaking to see them go through life making their mistakes. But it's interesting. I would say that right now, all four of us are alive, and I would say that now we have good relationships with one another. I would not have, my sister was so much younger, and we weren't that necessarily connected as siblings, though. That's what I would say. That's how I experienced it. And that's it. Thank you.
Yes, please.
No, I know I'm new. But
My name's Andrew. I'm the oldest middle child of four. I'm an orphan technically, and so our brothers and siblings were all separated. And so hearing what everybody has to say is super, super kind of interesting. And then I assume you got this out of or you've heard about the birth order book or something like that. I've never read the whole thing through. I've read about my older brother and my younger brother and myself, but I find it very kind of interesting in a lot of ways about the birth order. Like with your behaviors, I studied behavioral science in college. You can always kind of tell that if an older, first ordered, the eldest is in the family because of how they kind of present themselves. And my older brother is very much like that, where I kind of tend to try to take the lead in the family because we were separated. But he's got that inherent kind of like, I'm the older brother and you should be following my orders and looking up to me and all these other things like that. But I find that, sometimes the older brother isn't always the best brother to follow in a lot of ways. And so I've discovered through, places like this in the church primarily that it's a lot easier to kind of, go and discover yourself a little bit more. And so I find it very interesting how if all families were born and had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kids, it works exactly like that. But then the middle children that share kind of like a close relationship to some extent, it always seems as though that the middle child kind of begins to levitate more towards being an older child, and the youngest middle child starts levitating towards being more of like a younger child to some extent. And the younger child is really kind of always like left out, you know what I mean? Or very kind of like, infant to some extent, to very, everything is given to them and stuff like that. And so yeah, but your son's a natural on the mic though. I would say that. He's, and so, yeah, he probably takes after you. Your daughter doesn't do too bad either, but yeah. And then it's nice to meet the rest of you. Yeah.
I'm curious, did anyone here have a step sibling? or an adopted sibling? Anyone have like an addition of a sibling? No, okay, because I'm one of four, and when I was a teenager, my father remarried a woman who had three. And so suddenly there were 9 of us around the dinner table. And that was quite a change for me. And it actually it made me a fast eater. It's like when there are 9 people around the table, you put something on your plate, you make it disappear fast because you got to think quickly. Like if I want seconds, I got to get to the pot first. Does anyone else have a memory that they would like to share of some way? And I know we have not yet heard from one of our only children, but you're not under any pressure.
I have, I have excuse. So I was the youngest of my adopted family. My older brothers and sisters from that family are actually old enough to be my parents. 2, 3, 3 of them have passed on. So I think I mentioned a couple of weeks back that from my real family, I have been able to meet 3 of my brothers. I'm the oldest out of that family. And I have 1 brother yet to meet, but we can't find him right at the moment. He lives out in the bush somewhere like a real Indian. As an only child, yeah, I guess I was, I got the silver platter that falls, that works. And I don't really know what it's quite like to be an oldest child just yet.
The reason I moved to Buffalo, I think 8 years ago, was that my brother lives in Buffalo, and I had lived in various places because of involved with Elizabeth's medical training and residency and her becoming a doctor. So we had lived in Manhattan and then Harlem, and then we moved to North Carolina. We lived there for years. And the saddest thing about living in North Carolina was being apart from my siblings. And so the happiest time of year for me every year in North Carolina was Christmas time, when my 3 siblings would come, and because I was the first to have children, they would travel to us instead of making us drag the children somewhere else. So for years, the happiest day of the year for me was the day when my siblings came into town. And the saddest day of the year was the day that they left again. And I knew that it could be a year before I would see them again. And so one year, it was actually just 2 days after Christmas, when I drove my brother to a train station. I sat down with Elizabeth. I said, what I would like more than anything in the world is to move to Buffalo, and so I can live near Peter. And I do. And not only did it mean that I get to live near one of my brothers, and actually he and I live 1 block apart. He bought a house, we bought a house 1 block away. And it also meant that our other siblings and our other relatives who used to make separate trips to try to see him every year in Buffalo, see me every year in North Carolina, now they're able to come twice as often. to a place where they can see both of us. So we kind of had this idea, he and I, that with the two of us and also one of my stepbrothers, we could kind of make Western New York a kind of a nexus for people visiting. And that has just been really wonderful for me. I'm really blessed to have 3 siblings and 3 step siblings, all of whom I get along with well, and we are like-minded people. We all enjoy each other's company. And whenever part of the reason that this idea for a service came to mind is that whenever I meet someone, whenever someone new comes into my life, when I'm getting to know someone, I always kind of wish that they could meet my older sister and my 2 younger brothers, because I always kind of feel like they are meeting me. And if I'm standing by myself, I'm kind of part of a set, but I do fit in pretty logically. My older sister, the one who does everything right, she, like our father, is an Episcopal priest. So while when you see me up here on a Sunday morning, at the same time, in Short Hills, New Jersey, there is a female who looks like me, who is leading an Episcopal church service and doing a sermon and giving communion and like doing all of that stuff. In a way, I would say, well, she's my big sister. She's probably doing it better than me. Except that she's not a comedian. She's very serious. And then as I've said in my sermons before, both of my younger brothers having to grow up with the injustice of being younger siblings, they both became lawyers. So in my sibling mix, we ended up with like a genuine minister and a clown minister, and then 2 lawyers. We split that way. So it got me thinking about how growing up in a social dynamic shapes the way that we are. It shapes the way that we interact with each other. It shapes the way that we fit together as a community. When we are here or when we are downstairs at coffee hour talking with each other. In some ways, some of us, we are still kind of fulfilling that role, that function of the leader, like the firstborn child who gets the idea and holds the floor and kind of takes a leadership role. Then the person who was the youngest child who kind of looks for their moments to get that attention. And some of us are still acting out the role of the middle child, that person who wants to be the bridge, the mediator between people. So I encourage you to think about it. I encourage you to think about it when we're downstairs at coffee hour later. Which one of these parts are we playing just in sitting together and and sharing and conversing? The service continues, and I forgot to bring my leaflet. I think that there's a song next. So please check for the hymn number.
131.
All right, continue with hymn 131.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from Greek to
I have two quick announcements. Number one, I'm happy to see that we have some unfamiliar faces, some visitors here. And if you're visiting here and you are looking for a congregation, if you're looking for a church family, I would like to let you know that this Unitarian Universalist Church of Niagara Falls, this is a small church in which we celebrate diversity. And one of the ways that we do that is by having a diversity, a variety of church leaders. So if this is your first Sunday here, this Sunday you see me. We're trying out an experiment in interactive services. Normally I do a regular sermon where I speak on a topic for 20 minutes, but today we're trying something a little bit different. And next week our speaker will be Barbara Walker, and that will be another kind of experience. So if you are visiting here, if this is your first time here, you are welcome here. And what you'll find in this church is, I think, an interesting, thought-provoking, and fascinating variety of different speakers that make this church a dynamic congregation. My other announcement is that at 12:30, we will have, after coffee hour and discussion, we will gather back here again, and I will give a brief adult education lesson. We will be talking about the indigenous peoples of Western New York, the Haudenosaunee, and we'll be looking this week particularly at Haudenosaunee community structures, structures of authority. What does it mean to live in a village? What does it mean to choose representatives, to choose leaders in an Iroquois village? So I think that will be really fascinating. Besides being a preacher, I am also a professor at Canisius College, and so I'll be sharing some of what I've learned teaching there. I welcome you to join us for that at 12:30. Together, we have sanctified this space. If you have found strength and comfort here, share some out there. They need it. Remember that you are blessed and you are a blessing and you are not alone. Please join me for the words of extinguishing the chalice, which are printed here inside of your leaflet. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
I give myself very good advice, but I very seldom follow it. And that explains the trouble my health is in today.